Hi, everybody. My name is Jackson Flores. I am a Principal Solutions Engineer at Itential, and today I'm extremely excited to be able to demonstrate the Itential FlowAI application. The FlowAI application builds up on all the capability that the Itential platform already provides, from its instrumentation layer, where you can connect virtually any API, also devices via CLI using SSH via multiple mechanisms like NetMiko, Ansible, etc. And also its capability to execute things like Ansible Playbook and so forth at the instrumentation layer. On top of that, the Itential platform offers extremely capability with its workflow engine to provide deterministic capabilities to the agents. So it's using the Itential FlowAI application, we are able to expose workflows that are deterministic, that follow our customer's business logic, into agent as tools. That way we can actually leverage all the capabilities of the agents for reasoning, but at the same time use the determinism of workflows as well as the platform security, auditability, and so forth to build a secure enterprise-grade AI agent framework. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that. So we're actually in the FlowAI dashboard right now, but we're going to go ahead and create a simple agent. First, what we're going to do is we're actually going to create some tools for that agent, and then we'll go ahead and provide that agent definition. So let's go ahead and do that. What I have done is I have created a simple project in here that is empty at the moment. A project in Itential is a container of assets, and this allows us to expose assets securely to the agents that we will be able to restrict what things the agent can see. So I have to allow what projects the agent can execute workflows from, and also what additional tools. So we'll actually be looking at that a little bit later as well. So let's go ahead and add our first workflow, and I'm going to call it create AWS VPC. That gives you a clue of what we're going to be doing today. So we got a project called virtual network provisioning, and we're going to be using a script that creates a VPC. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and connect my task in here. This is a gateway manager task. So this actually exposes workflows or scripts into the platform as workflow tasks. So I will go ahead and pick my gateway cluster here, and then VPC add. Here we go. So we want a Python script. So I actually have a Python script that already does this. So we'll go ahead and do that. I will go and set most of these variables to job. And what that is going to do is that's actually going to expose them as runtime variables that have to be passed into the workflow. Or in this case, we're actually designing the workflow as a tool. So these are variables that the agent will have to pass in when executing and calling the workflow. So let's go ahead and expose that CIDR there. The VPC name, we want it to be a variable. The prefix, I'm going to go ahead and say, we're going to call it demo. And then the region, we're going to be passing it in as input, and the subnet as well. So go ahead and save that. And I do want to validate my inputs. So this is the input schema, or the input set of variables that need to be passed into that workflow. So this is actually used as part of the context that gets given or provided to the agent upon definition. So when I create an agent and I give it access to this workflow, the agent will be able to look through the project and see, okay, what workflows are available and what do they require to be executed, as well as what capability that they provide. So this is actually how we define what things the agent has to pass in as values. And we'll leverage the agent reasoning capability for that. So go ahead and open my run task again. I do want to have my result on my error as outputs. That way the agent can see what's going on with that task execution. And then the other thing that I want to do is I always like to do this, at the very least, for my simple stuff. I'm going to create a job status variable, and this is going to be a success. If everything goes well, and if something fails, then let's go ahead and let's do an error. Okay. Notice how quickly I'm creating a workflow here by just clicking, dragging, and dropping things. And like I said before, we're actually designing an agent tool that we're going to expose to that agent that we're going to creating later. So very quickly here, I could also go and build on and add evaluations and logic and other API calls and so forth. I could also not use my script and create a workflow that launches a VPC creation via API. So I can do a lot of different things in here, but in this case, I want to keep it simple. I already have a script that does it, so let's go ahead and do that. But I'm using the power of Itential Platform in order to expose these workflows and these scripts as tools to the agent. So our schema looks good. CIDR name, region, subnet. Let's go ahead into FlowAI and let's go ahead and actually show the magic. Let's go ahead and do the build agent. I'm going to call it virtual network provisioning. I will provide it a system prompt. You are a cloud network operations agent. Complete the following, the following steps upon provisioning request. Perfect. Step 1 will be create a AWS VPC using the provided parameters. Okay. So one of the things that I'm doing here is I'm actually providing the agent a personality and some context, saying your cloud network operations agent and complete the following steps. Notice that I actually called out step 1. For now, we don't have any other steps, but the reason why I did that is because we will actually come back later and modify that, and we'll give the agent more things to do, and we'll inject tools in a couple of ways, just so that we can demonstrate the capability that's been offered here. So we're going to do deploy or create rather a AWS VPC with using with the name. Let's see, let's call it FlowAI VPC in region US West 1 CIDR block. We have to pass a CIDR block. CIDR block, we're going to use 10.14.0.0/16. This is outside of my IPAM block. And subnet 10.14.1.0/24. All right, 10.14.0.0/16. These are, I have to make sure they don't clash. And then we got the name of the VPC, we got the region. I always like to split these up into separate, but we're going to do one sentence just to make sure that we can do this in natural language. And this is how we're going to be leveraging the power of the LLM to reason, but then Itential takes care of the deterministic portion that we want, which is the actual execution of the business process itself. So the second piece here is assigning tools. So we're going to go ahead and go to projects. And since I already created that project, virtual network provisioning, it has one workflow. So what that does is that tells me, hey, there's a workflow here that I can use as a tool for my agent. And later we're going to come back in and actually modify that to add more tools to this agent. But let's go ahead for now. Let's do this. So let's go ahead and click next. We're going to leave everything else as default. I can do some tweaking. I can change language, large language models, providers, etc. Temperatures. I'm going to leave everything as default. It's completely adequate for what I want. And I'm going to go ahead and create my agent. And let's go ahead and look at it. Make sure that it all looks good. We got a prompt. We got prompts. We don't have any tools that are discrete tools. We only have a project. And the project will load whatever tools are available inside of it. So any workflows that are available in my project will be available as tools. But for now, let's go ahead and launch this. Let's go ahead and make sure that my VPCs, I don't have anything that's clashing because I have tested things before. I do have no, nothing is clashing with mine. I got a demo FlowAI VPC with IPAM. Let's go ahead and delete that guy just because I don't want it. It shouldn't be the name that I'm using, but I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. I don't need it. Okay, so that's deleted, and our VPC should be called FlowAI VPC. Perfect. Let's go ahead and run my agent. And the agent is starting. We're going to get a pop-up here. And we should see a message once the agent is done. Okay, so our agent finished, and we get redirected into our missions page. So let's go ahead and open that agent. We have some past runs because I had tested this. So we can go here and see, okay, the agent took 15 seconds. We had one tool call and 5 messages. Tool call is really good sign. So we got a prompt. We got another prompt, which is what we passed in. And now we got some reasoning. So I'll create an AWS VPC with the specifications provided. And this looks very good. We got some output in JSON from that script, but it's got a bunch of others from the task here, and we got the standard out. So we got some RSAs and things like that. So I think our VPC worked. And yeah, effectively it did. So we got a summary from the agent. That's perfect. But this is a new UI for the builder, right? It works for that builder. We're going to have to do some modifications. But first, let's go ahead and check that everything looks good from the AWS perspective. Yep, we have FlowAI VPC. Our VPC has been created. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and modify our agent. So now our agent is good. It works for provisioning VPC, but I actually want to do a couple things that I want to add. There's a couple things that I want to add to it. One thing that I want to do is I want to add IPAM to it, because I don't want to keep having to type in the network, and this is actually out of sync. This is a block that's not in my IPAM system, but I already have info blocks onboarded in the Itential platform. So I want to go ahead and leverage that. The other thing that I want to do is, if you notice on the missions, we actually have to go to the agent and scroll through all the messages that the agent produced in order to see the result. I want to add Slack notifications to that. So let's go ahead and go back to my project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an existing workflow, because I have a workflow that does this already. So we're going to do Slack. I got a Slack demo here. This works already. I know it's been tested. So I have a Slack notification workflow that has a couple tasks, title and text. And this will already define a well-crafted notification for me, right? It has a title that has a heading and so forth, and it'll actually produce the body that I need for my Slack notification to be sent. Okay, so now that we have added the Slack notification workflow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another one for the IPAM request. So I want to do IPAM because I don't want to be passing in subnet. We're going to call it allocate VPC subnet. Let's go ahead and do that, and we're going to continue. So let's go ahead and modify our workflow. Let's make it horizontal here. And I want to use the assign next network task from info blocks. And let's go ahead and see what it requires. I do want to have variables again. And yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I like to have these created here. So let's go ahead and do success. And error. Let's go and connect those in. We can close this for now. Connect that. I'm going to connect that one to the end. And error here. Perfect. Simple enough. And let's go ahead and configure our assign next network task on info blocks. So the network block, we're going to also pass in as an input variable, just like we did on the Slack notification. The next network subnet mask, we're also going to do that, be passed in as a variable as well. We will pass in as a prompt, pass that in as a prompt for now. And then the comment. So pretty simple stuff. We're going to pass everything inbound. So let's go ahead and check that, make sure that, that everything looks good. So our block, mask, and comment. Okay, pretty good, perfect. Let's go ahead and modify our agent, because now we got two more tools and we want to make sure that we leverage those. So we're going to add a bit of orchestration into this whole thing. Now, granted, also mentioning again, just like the Slack workflow, I could do a lot of error handling and additional things in here. If I needed to do approval processes for things like allocating blocks that are greater or larger than a /28 rather. In this case, we're going to be allocating a 24. If I wanted an approval there, I could go ahead and do that as well. I could add a lot of the logic here in order to leverage, again, the deterministic portion, or the deterministic value that the Itential platform provides. So the coolest thing here is also that I can restrict. So these are the only things that the agent will have access to, which are inside the project. So let's go ahead and go back to my agent. And we had our run from earlier. So let's go ahead and change our agent really quickly. So let's go ahead, and the first thing we got to do is edit our agent. Our project looks good. So our agent still has access to those things inside the project. So anything I added there, it's available. So the first thing that we want to do now is we're going to modify our prompt. So this is going to be our step 2. And then our step 1, it's going to be allocate a subnet using the provided parameters. And then we're going to be adding a step 3, which is going to be send a fancy Slack notification with the provisioning results. Okay, cool. So now that we did that, let's verify our order. Everything is good. Allocate a subnet, create a VPC, send a Slack notification. Okay, so now the user prompt, it's going to be configure the VPC with the following values. Now we want to use an IPAM block. One of the things, let me go ahead and back. I do want to test this workflow to make sure that I have the blocks and the values. 0 to 0/16. This should be an IPAM block. I got my IPAM pulled up to the side in here. We're going to pass it in as a number, and then comment's going to be test. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. Okay, so this must be a string. Good to know. Perfect. I mean, the agent will know this. I didn't check it. Okay, did that work? Perfect. Okay, awesome. That worked. One thing that I did forget to do, which I'm going to go ahead and do here, is actually I want to store the result as a job variable, just for context for the agent. Well, we tested that, so I'm going to go ahead and save this to the side here on my handy dandy notepad. Let's go ahead back to our agent definition, and we'll want to modify this to say network block. It's going to be 10.11.0.0/16. That block has to be an IPAM. We're going to go ahead and rename this guy to FlowAI demo Slack IPAM orchestration. It's a very long name. Hopefully AWS doesn't give me grief for that. And then we're going to go ahead and delete that. We don't need it. The one thing that we do need, if we looked at that, we can actually, let's flip this. I want to region AWS East, AWS US West 2, US West 1, and then subnet mask. We want to have that as a 24 we had set. So let's verify this. Everything looks good here. We got a long name here. FlowAI. Let's just go ahead. We already have demo in the prefix. Let's go ahead and undo that. Slack IPAM orchestration, US West 1, network block 10.11.0.0/16, and subnet mask of 24. Double check here. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and save that. And we got our project, we got our prompt. So let's go ahead and run our agent, see what happens. Okay. Let's wait a minute. Now we're telling the agent there's a lot more stuff to do, or a couple more things to do, so it might take a little longer. Okay. Okay, our agent finished less than a minute ago. It took 26 seconds, 9 messages, and 3 tool calls. Okay, good. So let's see, we got the first ones, the first 2 are prompts. This is good. Now we got, here we go. Okay, awesome. So I'll help you provision the network with the specified parameters. First, I'll allocate the subnet. Then I'll create the VPC. Then I'll send the Slack. So let me start by doing a tool call. So this is perfect. So we got 3 tool calls. Let's go ahead and keep exploring here. This is good. Okay, so tool call, allocate VPC subnet. It did that. Okay, so we got an allocation there, I think. Awesome. We're going to create, the subnet was allocated. So it did some reasoning. 10.11.53 was allocated. Now let me create the VPC. So it called that. And then it got some results. It got a bunch of stuff again. Awesome. And then it did the Slack notification. Awesome. Look at that. So it sent notification. It looks pretty fancy with some logos and stuff. Let's go ahead and verify that our VPC was created and I have been signed out. Log back in. Come on, AWS. Okay, here we go. I think this is it. Is this it? Nope, this one. That was a testing one that I did before. So this is the one. 10.11.53.0, last 24. VPC, route tables, everything was created. This is fantastic. We got some tags in here with the name and stuff like that. And also the other thing that I do want to check is we got our run here. And our notifications right here. Look at that. So we actually have our provisioning has been complete. It's got all the data. It's a fancy notification. It looks really good. All resources have been created. So this is one of the, just a very basic example to kind of introduce the power of this FlowAI application. There's definitely a lot of possibilities, especially considering that now we not only get the capability of executing discrete assets from the platform like scripts and API tasks and so forth, but we can also have entire business processes that follow the orchestration of a workflow, right? It follows the state-of-the-art workflow capability that Itential provides, all exposed as tools. Very, very exciting, very fun to be able to demonstrate this today. And I'm very excited to showcase a lot more use cases in the future. Thanks for tuning in.